There are moments in life when no one arrives to help. You look for support, and it does not come. The comfort you expected is absent. In such a moment, you stand at a quiet crossroad. You can collapse into despair, or you can steady yourself and rise. What decides the outcome is not the world outside of you. It is the stance you take within. The Stoics understood this well. True strength was never about control over others. It was about stability of mind. They trained themselves to remain calm in difficulty, to meet hardship as the test of what they truly rested upon. In our time, weakness often hides behind distraction. Pain arrives, and we seek escape. Stress builds, and we reach for comfort. But strength is not formed this way. Strength is shaped through discipline, through choice, and through living in alignment with principle. What follows are 7 enduring practices from Stoic philosophy. They are not clever tricks, but tools for building a strength that remains. One no one can give to you, and one no one can take away. These lessons only live through practice. They are cultivated daily, not in perfect conditions, but in real ones. If you wish to stand firm, you must learn how to hold your ground. These chapters are a guide. Let us begin. Chapter 1. Own what you can control. A fragile mind blames. It points outward when life grows difficult. A steady mind accepts responsibility for what lies within its reach. The Stoics taught that strength begins here, with a separation between what you can and cannot control. This is not abstract philosophy. It is daily discipline. Each day will bring events beyond your reach, but your choices, your judgments, your values, these remain in your hands. Blame distracts you from them. It convinces you that your well-being depends entirely on others or on chance. Over time, this weakens you. Each complaint surrenders your ability to act. Blame becomes a shield against responsibility, but it also blocks the path to growth. Ownership reverses the pattern. It brings your attention back to what you can influence. It restores direction and purpose. It is not self-condemnation. It is clarity. When you hold yourself accountable, you see more clearly where your influence truly lies. You no longer wait for perfect conditions or permission from others. You move forward because it is aligned with your values. Strength does not demand ideal circumstances. It demands presence and clarity. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself of this each morning. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Clarity gives you the ability to move through discomfort without losing your footing. It reminds you where your effort belongs. You are not meant to control the world. You are meant to guide your actions and your attitude. Strength grows when you stop bargaining with excuses, when you no longer wait for conditions to be perfect before you begin. You act anyway. You keep moving even when outcomes fall short. You adjust. You learn. You refine. Even when others do not meet their part, you return to your own purpose. You do not collapse because someone else falters. You remain steady because your standards come from within. Resilience is not forged in one dramatic moment. It is built quietly, through steady effort, through decisions made when no one is watching. Each time you choose silence over complaint, you strengthen your character. Each time you withhold blame and accept responsibility, you create order within yourself. These acts are not loud, yet they leave lasting marks. Through repetition, the mind becomes trained to endure difficulty without retreat. Your response shifts from being ruled by emotion to being guided by principle. The discipline to act rather than complain is not accidental. It is cultivated. It begins with noticing your first reaction, pausing, and choosing differently. That pause is where control returns. Over time, you recognize the patterns. You see blame rising or discouragement whispering, and you meet them with steadiness. Each time you choose the harder path, you shape yourself more deeply into who you are becoming. With patience where you once felt anger, with responsibility where you once made excuses, you strengthen your foundation. These choices compound. They create stability that cannot easily be shaken. Strength is not a gift. It is built. It takes form through practice, through setbacks, through the way you carry yourself in difficulty. Your values stop being ideas alone. They are revealed in your speech, your actions, and your calm return to center. Strength does not need to be announced. It is seen in how you live. When you speak less and act with more intention, others notice. When you remain composed while others react, your presence carries weight. The discipline you practice becomes part of your posture, your expression, your way of moving through the world. You no longer look for affirmation to feel strong. The strength is already there, supported by your habits, and there is no final point of arrival. Discipline is not something you complete. It is a rhythm you continue, an ongoing training. As life shifts, you adjust without abandoning your principles. You return again and again to the practices that keep you steady. You begin by noticing your own patterns. You watch what pulls you off course. Each observation becomes a chance to reset. You correct what weakens you and strengthen the parts of your routine that slowly loosen with time. In this way, self-regulation sharpens. Discipline no longer feels like something forced. It becomes a natural way of moving. Small decisions that once felt heavy now flow with less resistance. You notice the signals that once led you toward avoidance or distraction, and you adjust more quickly. Over time, a stable rhythm forms within you. Each correction refines your response, and setbacks lose their power to shake you. Training is what prepares you for uncertainty. When pressure rises, you fall back on what you have rehearsed. You lean on your practices, not on sudden inspiration. Repetition becomes your source of strength. Disruption does not undo you. You know how to begin again. You return to structure even in difficulty, and slowly your identity aligns with your discipline. You no longer have to remind yourself of what must be done. You act from a place already chosen. Indecision fades, your focus sharpens, your priorities settle. This stability shields you when others are reactive. Because you have practiced control in quiet conditions, you can respond with calm under strain. Consistency leaves little room for weakness. Weakness feeds on certain patterns: delay, self-pity, blame, confusion. When those patterns are interrupted again and again by steady action, they lose their hold. They fade. Struggle does not disappear, but the conditions that once allowed it to rule your behavior are removed. A strong mind is not built on theory. It is shaped by choices, reinforced by the daily alignment of values and actions. Each day you return to discipline, you reclaim your direction, you reduce the space where weakness lives, and you widen the space where clarity and structure guide you. Strength becomes a habit of being. It no longer depends on bursts of motivation or the presence of external support. It rests on your own return to what you know works, to what you have built with consistency. You protect this strength with awareness. You grow it through practice, and when life presses against you, you rely on it. This is how you hold your shape under pressure. This is how strength becomes not just something you do, but who you are. Chapter 2. Build inner structure through daily discipline. Weakness often hides in inconsistency. A person may have talent, ambition, or energy, yet without structure, these fade. The Stoics understood that strength is not born in grand gestures, but in the quiet repetition of daily habits. Epictetus reminded us that we are shaped by what we repeatedly do. Strength begins not with dramatic effort, but with how we order each day. Wake with intention, set your focus, and when distractions pull you away, gently return to what matters. Strength grows out of rhythm. Each disciplined act leaves an imprint on your identity. Without discipline, life scatters. You begin to react to events by impulse rather than principle. You delay what matters until urgency leaves you no choice. Under stress, avoidance replaces action. Decisions are made for short-term comfort, not long-term direction. A life without structure often feels unstable. You start tasks with energy, but abandon them when motivation fades. You speak of purpose, but struggle to follow through. Confidence erodes because you know what should be done, yet you cannot trust yourself to do it. Without a process, focus weakens and time slips away into distractions. Energy is spent managing disorder instead of building something lasting. Discipline reverses this pattern. It provides a path the mind can return to, even when emotion wavers. You are not asked to feel inspired. You are asked to act within your structure. The steadiness builds trust in yourself. You begin to follow through not because of mood, but because it has become your way. That trust is a quiet form of strength. A steady mind begins each morning with intention. The day does not start at random. It begins with a pause, a check-in. You ask, what matters most? Where must my attention go? What deserves my time today? This simple act reduces drift. It reminds you that the day is yours to shape. And in the evening, you reflect. You ask what went well, where you faltered, and how you can improve. This rhythm creates a loop of feedback, honest, humble, and useful. Mistakes are not denied. They are studied and refined into better practice. Growth becomes part of the routine. The Stoic does not waste energy on what does not serve their principles. Time is guarded, attention is directed, and energy is preserved. These habits protect the inner core. With them, chaos loses weight. Stability deepens. You become harder to shake. You begin to carry less noise in your mind. Attention shifts toward the work itself, not toward your feelings about the work. At first, this effort seems small. It rarely brings instant reward or visible progress. It is quiet, repetitive, and inward. Easy to overlook, yet it is through this kind of steady effort that identity is shaped. You become the person who returns to structure despite the noise around you. You become someone who honors the system you've chosen instead of chasing short-term results. Over time, these habits settle into the way you think, act, and respond under pressure. What you repeat is what you learn to rely on. Avoidance repeated becomes avoidance lived. Follow through repeated becomes strength refined. This daily return is what turns intention into character. You stop measuring strength by how confident you feel and begin measuring it by how consistently you act. Improvement is no longer a matter of waiting for proof. It is seen in your willingness to return to discipline, no matter the circumstance. You stop asking if you are capable. You begin proving it in action. Words give way to choices. Hope gives way to effort. Discipline no longer depends on the environment. It depends on your commitment to keep faith with what you said you would do. Direction becomes clearer. Hesitation fades. You follow your structure even when drifting would be easier. Stability through adversity comes from this consistency. Routines are not for appearance, but for clarity. Training is not for perfection, but for steadiness. You practice to focus under distraction. You practice to move through resistance. You prepare so that when life shifts suddenly, your response is already set. Your structure becomes a place you return to, not something you build in panic when things fall apart. This is your safeguard. It prevents collapse. You are not waiting for the ideal moment. You have already trained your way of meeting it. Where others freeze, you hold steady. Where stress rises, you continue your work. Your rhythm becomes an anchor in chaos. This is how the Stoic forms lasting strength. The mind is not left to wander unchecked. It is guided. It learns to serve the task instead of derailing it. And as your actions align with your choices, you begin to trust yourself more deeply. Each day offers another test. Each moment is another chance to return. In time, the results speak without needing to be declared. Strength shows itself in how you live, in calmness, in clarity, in the ability to adjust without losing your ground. This is the quiet product of repeated effort. This is how discipline becomes not just what you do, but who you are. This is how strength keeps its shape. Chapter 3. Face reality without illusion. Strength requires truth. A mind that seeks stability must be trained to look directly at what is, without distortion. Denial clouds perception. Illusion creates confusion. The Stoics placed great weight on clear sight. They practiced separating fact from judgment, believing that clarity is the first step toward reason and purposeful action. When you misrepresent reality, your choices rest on unstable ground. When you see things as they are, you remove unnecessary tension from the mind. Life moves on its own terms, without waiting for your approval. People change, outcomes shift, plans fail. These events are not enemies. They are neutral. What gives them weight is the response you bring to them. A mind that resists reality becomes heavy with friction. A mind that accepts reality gains direction. Resistance drains energy. Acceptance provides structure. When you release the demand that reality conform to your preferences, you begin to work with what is before you. Seneca trained his mind toward preparation, not worry. He encouraged foresight, not fear. He taught that clarity itself is a kind of protection. To see the possibility of loss is to prepare. To recognize what may go wrong is to adjust wisely. This habit does not darken the spirit. It steadies it. It reduces surprise, giving you time to respond with calm. When difficulty arrives, you are not unprepared. Your mind does not retreat. It leans on what it has already practiced. Illusion weakens decision-making. Clarity strengthens it. You cannot move with confidence when your vision is blurred. You must begin from where you truly stand, not from where you wish you stood. This level of honesty anchors you. It conserves your energy. You stop chasing what you hoped would unfold and begin working with what has actually arrived. From here, your actions have weight. From here, your plans have direction. This clarity must also turn inward. You are not separate from the circumstances you face. You are part of them. If you hide from your mistakes, you repeat them. If you justify harmful patterns, they persist. Strength grows when you correct yourself early, before consequences demand it. Facing truth is not punishment. It is refinement. Each time you practice it, your mind sharpens. Each time you act on it, your life comes into greater alignment. Strength begins with the discipline to see clearly, is deepened by the willingness to adjust, and is preserved by the habit of removing illusion before it hardens into pattern. Each time you resist the impulse to dramatize, escape, or make excuses, you strengthen the mind. You protect clarity and create space for a measured response instead of a reaction. These small decisions become part of your inner framework. They reduce the openings where confusion and chaos can take root. The mind steadies itself because it is fed with clear perception and deliberate action. You learn to bear weight without breaking under it. Resilience is built on this clarity. When you see things as they are, you do not inflate the difficulty, nor do you shrink from what must be faced. You remain present, examining what can be done. Discomfort is not met with distortion, but with attention. Stillness allows you to hold your ground when uncertainty presses in. Structure creates calm. It gives the mind something steady to return to. When pressure rises, this frame is not held together by chance, but by repetition, focus, and grounded thought. The Stoic trains daily to maintain this steadiness. The aim is usefulness under strain. When the world shakes, preparation allows you to remain upright. You return to principles and act with intent. This is not accident. It is discipline. You learn to walk through hardship without being overtaken by it. Instead of chasing a perfect outcome, you direct your energy toward what can be done now. Each action rooted in truth strengthens the bond between perception and purpose. You move with less hesitation. You adapt without confusion. Strength is most visible when pressure is highest. Where others falter, the trained mind holds its shape. It does not need to exaggerate or collapse into panic. It follows what it has rehearsed, steady, deliberate, aligned with reason. This kind of mind is not formed by ease. It is shaped by repeated exposure to difficulty and the decision to remain calm within it. Each challenge deepens your practice. Each setback becomes a rehearsal for clarity. The goal is not to avoid hardship, but to move through it without losing yourself. This is the work. To stay close to reality even when it cuts against you. To strip away confusion by naming things clearly. To conserve energy by refusing resistance and turning instead to the task at hand. Each time you choose clarity over comfort, you grow more capable. This is how strength takes form, not in theory, but in practice. You live it, you repeat it, you rely on it. And when all else turns uncertain, the Stoic does not collapse. They endure because they have trained themselves to hold together. Strength begins in truth. It is sustained by structure. It becomes natural through practice. Each step taken in clarity strengthens a mind that can endure. Chapter 4. Strength through voluntary discomfort. Resilience is not born in ease. It is formed in the deliberate choice to face what others avoid. The Stoics understood this, and so they trained themselves to meet hardship without fear. Voluntary discomfort is not a rejection of comfort. It is a way to free the mind from dependence on it. By stepping willingly into difficulty, you prepare yourself to meet adversity without panic. Seneca, for example, would sleep on the ground, wear simple clothing, and eat the plainest food. He did this not to punish himself, but to remember that luxury is optional, and that losing comfort does not mean losing control. What matters is not copying the extremes of the past, but discovering your own forms of practice, simple challenges that expand your capacity to endure. When you reduce your reliance on convenience, you see more clearly what sustains you: cold, hunger, effort, Each becomes a test that sharpens your adaptability. The purpose is not harm. The purpose is exposure. You remove the illusion that strength depends on surroundings and discover that it comes from within, through the way you respond. These practices, small as they are, demand presence. They build the habit of acting through resistance. Voluntary discipline also extends beyond the body. It is present in the way you hold back an impulse, delay gratification, or choose silence over reaction. You test your control when you finish a task before checking your phone, or when you pause before answering criticism. These choices seem minor, yet repeated often. They reshape the mind. Stillness is another form of practice. Walking without your phone, eating without a screen, or sitting quietly with your thoughts. Each is a test of patience. They teach you to remain where you are, even when the mind seeks escape. These are quiet hardships, self-chosen and deliberate. Each one strengthens endurance. Each one loosens your dependence on comfort. In this way, you prepare yourself, not by waiting for difficulty to arrive, but by meeting it on your own terms. You step away from ease to see how your mind and body respond. You reduce luxury for a time to remember what is essential. You remove distractions so attention can be rebuilt. These choices may seem small, but repeated over time, they shape your relationship with effort. They create familiarity with discomfort. You stop waiting for conditions to feel perfect before you act. Strength grows through this process. Discomfort loses its threat when it becomes familiar. Faced daily, it no longer feels like an obstacle, but part of the path. Pain is no longer a signal to stop. It becomes a reminder that you are training. It sharpens your sense of control. You stop depending on mood, circumstance, or encouragement from others. You begin relying on what you have prepared within yourself. This is the purpose of voluntary discomfort: to remove the cushion before life removes it for you. To test the mind so that it does not break when reality becomes heavy. It is not built in one gesture, but in steady repetition. By exposing yourself to small difficulties, you prepare for the larger ones that will inevitably come. When real trials arrive, loss, pressure, uncertainty, the mind is not caught unprepared. The response has already been rehearsed. The pattern has been shaped. Action flows without panic, without confusion. The body follows with calm execution. Stability under pressure becomes possible because it was tested in advance, long before the storm appeared. This is not luck. It is not talent. It is the outcome of daily practice, of choosing to engage discomfort before it is forced upon you. Each exercise, however minor, is part of a larger structure. Each test strengthens a specific part of your endurance. Together they form a system that keeps you steady when life becomes unpredictable. With time, the mind learns how to move under stress. The body learns to follow. Thought and action work together with unity and control. Voluntary hardship becomes the foundation of resilience. Every time you enter a difficult condition on purpose, you add another layer of readiness. Each repetition deepens your tolerance. Your thinking becomes clearer under strain. Your emotions settle more quickly. You gain practice in staying present. What looks like a small exercise is, in truth, a preparation for larger battles. These repeated exposures give you hundreds of chances to prove your stability before the world demands it of you. Each repetition teaches the mind and body to hold steady. The nervous system learns not to overreact. Speech becomes measured. The body carries weight with greater ease. Practiced consistently, These small efforts create resilience across every part of life. You begin to see how much you can endure. You learn to move forward without waiting for relief. This slow, deliberate training shapes identity. You stop asking whether you can handle pressure. You begin to live as someone who does. Trust in yourself grows. You know you will not collapse when circumstances shift. You do not rely on ease. You prepare for effort. You step into challenge knowing your actions will follow a rhythm already tested. That rhythm becomes your edge. It turns hesitation into movement, fear into process. Strength is proven in this way. You do not wait for hardship to arrive. You meet it deliberately, on your own terms. Each repetition becomes an investment, a confirmation of what you can carry. Confidence grows not from hope, but from evidence. You no longer wonder if you will endure. You know it, because you have practiced. This is how preparation becomes power. This is how steadiness takes form. Chapter 5. Control your response. Guard your energy. Each day brings moments that could provoke you. Words may sting, plans may fall apart, expectations may shift. The Stoics did not seek to stop these events. They trained themselves to meet them with clarity. Strength lies not in controlling what happens, but in controlling how you respond. That response begins with awareness. When emotion drives behavior, strength is given way. Anger, anxiety, and frustration blur clarity and drain energy. Reaction replaces reason. The Stoic trains himself to pause, to create space before speaking or acting. In that space, strength is formed. Guarding your energy begins with guarding your attention. Where attention goes, energy follows. If it is scattered, energy is drained. Distraction and interruption spread it thin. When focused on what cannot be changed, effort dissolves into frustration. What matters is directing attention with intent. Your attention is your responsibility. If given away freely, it leaves you tired without progress, busy without clarity. But when directed by choice toward what you can influence, it strengthens you. It shapes your response, preserves your energy, and allows you to act with steadiness even under pressure. This habit strengthens your ability to remain calm when others are provoked. You cultivate it by building clear boundaries. You are deliberate about what you take in. You limit exposure to opinions that offer no value. You avoid unnecessary arguments. You do not invest energy in people who repeatedly test your limits. You preserve your energy by stepping away from what adds noise without direction. This is not isolation. It is careful curation. It is protecting the quality of your thoughts. Measured speech is part of this discipline. You choose your words with precision, avoiding speech born of pressure or emotion. You allow space to think before responding. Silence becomes a tool, not an absence. It gives time to understand, to act from intention rather than impulse. When you do speak, your words are clear, aligned with your values, and without confusion. Each measured response preserves energy and sharpens focus. You maintain clarity even when emotions run high. Temporary feelings do not dictate long-term actions. You return to structure, pause, and act from principle. Over time, this becomes a stable pattern, a habit that keeps you steady under pressure. This is the equanimity the Stoics valued. Balance amid tension. Equanimity is not ignoring emotion or pretending nothing matters. It is the ability to remain aware without being overwhelmed. You feel, but are not carried away. You think, but are not lost in thought. You observe clearly and move forward with intention. This clarity allows you to respond to difficulty with structure, staying anchored to your role rather than chasing approval or reacting to provocation. You focus on what can be done. You do not amplify moments with unnecessary noise. You do not create extra problems through overreaction. This steadiness allows you to carry weight without hesitation. Each challenge becomes a training ground. Delays teach patience. Insults teach control. Sudden change teaches presence. Each situation is met with a mindset prepared to stay composed. Through repetition, self-control becomes natural. Restraint becomes familiar. Silence becomes a tool. Steadiness becomes your default. Stillness becomes strength. This training is not dramatic. It is consistent. Each conversation is an opportunity to practice clarity. Each conflict is a chance to remain centered. The unpredictable nature of life is no longer a threat. It becomes a field for reinforcement. With every challenge, the Stoic sharpens posture and deepens discipline. The external world moves in cycles beyond your control. People speak without thought. Plans shift. Mistakes happen. Circumstances rise and fall. Yet your inner stance does not have to waver. With each wave, you choose alignment. You move through life without letting it define who you are. Grounding comes through consistency. You maintain structure in every environment. You resist drifting into reaction. You return to reason. You stay rooted in your values. You pause before action. This allows you to carry strength into each day, regardless of what it brings. This is the kind of strength that does not announce itself. It is felt in silence. It is visible in restraint. It is built through daily decisions to remain aligned when life is difficult. Each day offers a chance to stay composed when others falter. Each moment offers an opportunity to act with intention rather than emotion. This is how the Stoic preserves peace. This is how clarity is kept in motion. Strength is forged through repetition. The world will test you. Your response does not have to mirror chaos. It can reflect discipline, preparation, and the results of work done long before pressure arrived. Chapter 6. Purpose over emotion. Emotion has value, but it is an unstable guide. It shifts, reacts, exaggerates. The Stoics train themselves to observe emotion, not obey it. They acted from purpose, not impulse. In doing so, they maintained direction even when conditions were difficult. Purpose is chosen. It is anchored to core values, your role in the present, and your long-term direction. It does not bend with daily moods or external pressures. It provides a steady guide when the mind feels uncertain. Purpose reminds you of what you stand for when circumstances are unclear. Acting from purpose relies on commitments, not fleeting motivation. Purpose creates momentum. It allows you to move through mental fog, fatigue, or discouragement. You do not stop when discomfort arises. You continue because you have already decided what matters. Purpose reduces the need to weigh every decision emotionally. You know your course. You follow it. You fulfill your role. This discipline makes action consistent. It builds rhythm in behavior. It reduces wasted effort and emotional interference. The result is clarity, especially when others freeze or overreact. When emotion rises, you pause. You create space between feeling and response. You act deliberately, guided by principle rather than impulse. You observe the emotion without exaggeration. You do not resist it, nor do you feed it. You notice it, then return to your task. You ask a simple question. What does this moment require from me? You let that question guide your next action. You work with the facts, accepting the moment as it is, and focusing on your response. This creates space for calm, deliberate action. You are not avoiding emotion. You are managing it. You identify what is useful and leave behind what distracts. This separation between signal and noise becomes a habit. The more consistently you practice it, the more automatic it becomes. Unfiltered emotion loses its grip, and your attention stays on what matters. You stop following every passing thought. You begin distinguishing between thoughts that lead to action and those that lead to distraction. You learn to pause and observe. That pause gives you control. It creates space between feeling and action. The more you inhabit that space, the steadier your posture becomes. You stop reacting to every impulse. Discipline grows through this delay. You let moments pass without immediately responding. When tempted to speak quickly, you pause and assess whether your words serve the situation. When irritation or frustration arises, you notice it before acting. You track the emotion without letting it steer you. When discomfort or fatigue appears, you continue the task regardless. Each choice to hold the line reinforces your internal control. Every time you act from principle, you reinforce the person you are becoming. Your identity shifts from being driven by feelings to being shaped by action. Your values begin to show naturally in your behavior. Trust in yourself grows, not from thought, but from consistent choice. Repetition builds a pattern. The pattern becomes your foundation. Your identity becomes tied to responsibility. You measure yourself by follow-through, not by ease or comfort. You take ownership even when conditions are imperfect. You no longer wait for the right mood or perfect circumstances. You train yourself to act regardless of discomfort. Acting through difficulty becomes familiar. It no longer feels foreign or extreme. It becomes the rhythm of your day. You maintain focus when the task is hard. You speak carefully when your thoughts are scattered. You continue working even when tired. You complete the task without needing the right state of mind. You do it because you have decided it matters. This practice builds inner toughness. You create a pattern of working through emotional noise. A good day is no longer measured by feeling, but by whether you honored your structure. Emotion occurs, but it no longer drives your decisions. It becomes part of the background, while your principles guide the foreground. You live from your core, not from surface reactions. This process does not remove feeling. It teaches you to move while feelings are present. You become capable of acting under pressure without succumbing to panic. You carry frustration without losing your role. You meet doubt without changing your direction. Emotion becomes part of the process, not its center dot. It is acknowledged, not obeyed. It moves through you, and you continue your task. You hold your position. You act according to your values. You do not wait for the feeling to pass. You take the next step. You operate from rhythm. You follow your process. That rhythm becomes your response when circumstances shift. Discipline grows stronger than mood. You do not collapse when things feel difficult. You stay in motion with clarity. This is the training that builds inner strength. The repetition of controlled action in uncertain moments, the continual return to principle. When emotion challenges your direction, the Stoic builds a steady mind through practice. Internal turbulence is met with external order. Pressure is met with structure. Over time, emotional triggers lose their intensity. They may appear, but they pass more quickly. You notice them without chasing them. The reaction that once felt automatic now has space to unfold. That space allows pause, reflection, and choice. You no longer feel compelled to respond to the first signal. You slow your movements even under pressure. You hold the line. When a trigger arises, you observe it. You breathe. You ask what the moment requires. You do not abandon the task. You adjust your posture. You continue. This strengthens your ability to act from structure rather than instinct. Actions that once depended on emotional permission now follow trained direction. You work while emotion moves through you. Repetition clarifies your pattern. Your system becomes stronger. Each decision reinforces discipline. Noise no longer shapes you. You move through discomfort without confusion. Your actions reflect preparation. They follow a path you have practiced. Tasks become manageable even when conditions are difficult. You stay focused while others hesitate. You finish the work while others wait to feel ready. You operate from rhythm, not reaction. This builds reliability. You become someone who can be counted on to hold their position under pressure. Thoughts remain organized when stress rises. Breathing remains calm when urgency appears. You respond from a place intentionally built. That response carries strength. It shows that your mind is no longer pulled in every direction by passing moods. It supports your purpose. It helps you endure. This is how a Stoic builds lasting strength. It is not a single achievement. It does not depend on ideal conditions. It is developed through repeated action aligned with intention. Practiced day after day. Strength is created through structure, reinforced by conscious decisions, and carried forward through habit. Each choice adds to the system. Each correction shapes your identity. You become consistent through attention. You remain prepared through practice. You return to principle even when everything around you feels unstable. You stay with your task even when energy feels limited. You reduce the gap between what you value and how you act. The distance between intention and behavior narrows. Your life no longer shifts with every passing emotion. It becomes directed by chosen standards. This form of discipline does not demand perfection. It requires only the willingness to return. You may stumble, you may lose focus, but you begin again. You re-enter the task. You rebuild the structure. Over time, this habit becomes natural. It becomes your default. Pressure no longer breaks your momentum. It shapes it. When clarity fades, you do not panic. You rely on your process. When emotion rises, you do not react blindly. You return to your path. You make fewer errors because you act deliberately. You conserve energy because you remain aligned. This discipline becomes a resource. You draw on it when circumstances are challenging. This is how strength becomes internal. This is how you carry it across situations. It holds its form through loss, change, and uncertainty. It does not depend on perfect timing. It is embedded in your actions. It lives in how you respond when conditions are difficult. It is proven in the way you continue forward when most would stop. Chapter 7. Live by your philosophy, not by circumstance. The final layer of strength is to live according to your chosen philosophy in all conditions. The Stoics acted according to nature, reason, and virtue. They did not adopt these principles only in ease and abandon them in difficulty. They carried them into every part of life. Consistency is strength. Philosophy is not something to study and forget. It is a guide to action. It shapes how you speak, how you respond, how you lead yourself through change. When you live by a clear system, your choices become simpler. You do not debate every situation. You follow your principles. When pain comes, you act with courage. When temptation appears, you return to discipline. When confusion rises, you fall back on reason. This rhythm builds clarity. It removes doubt. It gives your life a structure that cannot be shaken by emotion or external force. Your direction is internal. Your compass is set. Living this way, creates self-respect. You know who you are because your actions consistently reflect your values. You do not pretend in private, nor do you shift to please in public. You move as one person, whole and consistent. The world may push and pull, but your decisions remain grounded in what you have chosen to stand for. This removes the strain of trying to satisfy everyone or adapt to every passing mood. The Stoic does not aim for perfection. He aims for consistency. He expects failure, yet he does not abandon the path. He learns from mistakes, adjusts, and begins again. This steady return builds identity. Strength is not found in grand declarations. It is found in daily alignment with what you believe. Weakness is replaced not by a single decisive act, but by countless quiet, deliberate ones. You choose your philosophy once, then live it each day. Over time, it becomes who you are, and who you are becomes strong.